What a difference a week makes. Just last week, there wasn't a state that didn't experience frigid temperatures.
Yeah, but yet this weekend, parts of Delmarva broke records because it was so warm. Certainly some wild weather, and we're not out of the woods just yet. Here to give us some insight on what's going on is WBOC's chief meteorologist, Dan Satterfield. Wow, it's been a crazy week.
I've been calling it a roller coaster winter.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we're riding a wild roller coaster.
Well, one of the phrases, or I guess sayings we keep hearing is polar vortex. What is that?
Polar Vortex has now gotten its 15 minutes of fame. Meteorologists have talked about the polar vortex for many years. I mean, it goes way back into the 40s and 50s. And I brought a picture along.
Okay.
See that big blue blob with all the lines going around it over the eastern United States?
In the middle there, okay.
That's the polar vortex.
Oh, okay.
And basically, if you were to go up where the jet planes fly, about 5 miles high,
right,
the winds are blowing in a circle around an intense low. And the colder the air gets, the more intense that low gets. Most of the time, it's up near the North Pole.
Right.
And about every 20 years, it comes south. And when it does, it drags all that polar air with it. And so that's what happened here.
Do you think we'll actually see another one?
Yeah, there's some signs that that's going to happen. And I have a couple of the graphics I want to show you. First of all, this is for later next week. And when I'll put the graphic up, see that big dip in the east?
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the computer models. Now, here's the problem. Long-range computer models are about, well, they're like the vice presidency of the United States, so worth a bucket of warm spit. I don't know who said that. Well, some famous vice president said, you know, the job is worth a bucket of warm spit. Well, it's about the same thing for computer models, okay? But there's a little trick we can use. Let's look at someone else's model. And we actually, so here are the models from, one on the left is the United States, the one in the middle, that's the European model, which is probably one of the best in the world right now, and the one on the right is the Canadian model. And if you notice, they all look about the same, don't they?
Yeah.
But that's still not enough for me to think we're going to have the cold air. There's a little trick that meteorologists have developed really in the last 15 or 20 years. If you make a very slight change when you start the model, sometimes you get a completely different result. That's the chaos theory, actually. You've heard of a butterfly flaps its wings, in Brazil you get a blizzard 2 years later or a tornado somewhere.
Right.
Well, so here's what we do. Let's run the model 20 times and then take maybe an average and see, do most of them say one thing? And then Britain does that with the Euro model, Canada does that, the United States does that, and let's combine all of them and take an average. Now when you just look at each one run, let me show you the image here. This is what you get. These are the spaghettis. Every one of those blue lines is a different model run, and for every model you get a red, blue, and a dark blue line.
Okay.
All right. But if you average them all out, which is what that yellow line is, you notice the trough, the cold is in the east and the warm is in the west. That's the middle of next week there.
So you're saying we're going to see some pretty cold temperatures
I'm saying
next
the
week.
odds are pretty doggone high that we're going to get some cold. Now, the best guess right now is as of now, it doesn't look as severe as that first big outbreak.
Okay.
But I can't say for sure.
Is it going to be all over the country or just
mainly
that same
in the
area?
Mainly in the east. The west is above normal. And in Australia right now, they're having record heat. It hit 40 Celsius yesterday. That is 104 degrees.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's pretty hot.
Well, who's to say that we aren't going to end up back in the 60s like we did?
We may very well, and one of the reasons for that is all we have to do is get a nice south wind because the waters in the Atlantic are above normal. So when you get the northwest wind, where this is one of those years where the vortex is coming down and it gets the air right across the pole from Siberia. But once the winds go to the south, you're getting air off the warmer waters and the temperature goes above normal by a large amount. So we're seeing this roller coaster winter.
Well, let me ask you this. This last weekend, there were some people that saw like monsoon-like conditions. And
I was one of them.
I got nothing. I got nothing. What's up with that?
It was just the track of the low pressure, and there was also a front across Delmarva. And at one time over the weekend, we had like a 25-degree temperature difference from south to north. It was a stationary front. Heavy rain events like to form on stationary fronts. The low will go along the front.
Okay.
And so if you're along and just north of the front, you're going to get soaked. If you're south, it's a warm day with just some showery precipitation. So southern Delmarva, beautiful. Northern Delmarva, Dover, you did not luck out. Let's put it that way.
Don't like the weather? Just drive 20 miles.
It was that way. It really was.
All right. So with all this cold, many of us are already thinking ahead to the summer, planning vacations and everything. Is it going to be a hot one, dry one, wet one?
And here's some good advice. Anytime a meteorologist tells you the forecast beyond 8 or 9 days out, run.
Oh,
Okay. The only thing we can say is that it does not look like there's going to be an El Nino or a La Nina, that warm water in the Pacific. And that means it's going to be a La neither. Now that helps a little bit in the winter to forecast the winter. It doesn't help at all in the summer.
Gotcha.
So the only thing we can say is wait and see. We had a very low tropical year this year.
yeah.
So we're
You'll stay
probably
on-
going to, the odds are it won't be that low this year. So the tropical season will probably bump up a little bit.
You'll stay on top of it for us, Dan
got it.
Satterfield, Chief Meteorologist,
Of
WBOC.
course,
Thank you.
we have the weather app, the
Yes.
WBOC
Hey,
TV weather
if you
app.
haven't downloaded that app, I have actually had viewers email me and say, all right, you talk about it every night. I said, oh, I'm not going to do it. Finally, I did it. You were right. It really is great. Yeah, it's really good. And it's
you
the
also-
only free thing you got for Christmas.
And you also have a Facebook page as
Oh,
well.
yes, Facebook. Well, we have a weather Facebook now
Right.
that's besides the WBOC Facebook. You know, the news folks, you know, all right, you're always posting weather here. Give us some news. So we just brought our own weather. So if
Well,
you're a
we
real
appreciate
weather nerd, you've got your own Facebook page.
Dan,
too.
thank you.
Yeah, glad to do it.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Well, as Dan just explained to you, get ready for the cold to make a comeback. That, of course, means frozen pipes are once again going to be a major concern. Well, obviously now is the time to take measures to prevent that from happening to you. So we are going to learn some simple steps that you can take to avoid a frozen pipe fiasco.
And it's not just the pipes in your home you need to give a little extra attention to this winter. We'll learn how a few minor chores around the house now can save you a lot of headaches when the mercury drops later. Delmarva Life, we'll be right back.